In this presentation, what we're going to do is a look at how to add your own characters to the Rise scenario block. So let's look at what you get out of the box, and then we'll talk about how you bring your characters in there. So you'll notice when I'm looking at a scenario, I've got these dynamic characters. So as I switch on things, I can dynamically change the poses of these characters as they respond to the interactivity. So how does that work? When you first work in the scenario block, right, you're going to choose a character. That's your character that you're choosing, but when you're actually working inside the block, you can dynamically alter that character. So by default, you get 12 poses, and this is a key point you'll want to remember as we go through this. You have 12 poses by default, and so those can be dynamically changed, right? So it's not just a matter of inserting an image. It's you make a selection, it dynamically changes that. So you're not inserting a bunch of images. And then you can always go to more here, and then you've got a whole catalog of images. And again, it's not just like a folder of images. These images are all tied to some sort of filtering options and these different emotions and styles. So currently you can't insert your own characters in the scenario block, but there's no reason why you can't build your scenario and then swap out the characters later and add your own characters. So I'm going to show you an easy way to do that. So the key thing here is when you publish a scenario, even if you only used, let's say, the neutral pose, if you only use the neutral pose for every single character, when you publish this scenario, you're going to see all 12 poses. So essentially you have 12 different images that you can overwrite in there. And then if you chose, more, you can do that as well. But by default, you're going to get 12 poses, right? So I would just say 12 selections. So what I do is I create a template. So I've got in PowerPoint, just make it kind of simple. I have a template here. Let's look at it from this perspective. So these are the 12 poses that are available to me in the template. And then what I did here, because it's hard to know what those are when I'm actually swapping them out, I actually just put an image here, so when I'm doing the swapping, I can quickly see what those poses look like. So let's go ahead and publish the course, look at what's in there, and then we're going to overwrite it, and I'll show you how easy this is to do. Now I'm using PowerPoint, essentially just overwriting the existing image. So if you're working in Photoshop or some other tool, you're just going to overwrite it, make sure it has the same name. So let's open up my Rise scenario block. So here's the scenario block. I'm going to go ahead and close this, and we're going to publish it. Now you'll notice before we publish it, I've got a few different poses that I'm using here. We're going to go ahead and publish it first. Come over here to export, choose web, export it. I'm going to drop it in my folder. All right, here it is in the folder. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to unzip this. I just right click and extract all. And what we're going to see is the inside of our scenario block. So inside that block, there's a content folder. And inside the content folder, you have your assets. And inside that, there are all the characters. So you can see you have 12 characters, and those are those 12 default poses. Now, if you add those other options, you're going to have other characters. So even if you only used one, you're still going to get these 12 as part of that. So what's nice about that is, since you know that you have these 12 emotions, you essentially have 12 images you can swap out. So let's say you have a robot image and you want to put the robot image in there. Just select, let's say, disappointed, and then you can swap out the disappointed character. So we're actually going to do that right now. So let's look at the course. We're going to click on this. Let me move these side by side here. So we're going to click and open up our course to see what it looks like. And content, let's go ahead and open it. So here's our course, right? My scenario block, this is the neutral pose. And then this is talking, maybe, I can't remember, right? So we've got a few different poses. we can see here what we're doing here, and this is disappointed maybe. So I don't know exactly what those are. We're going to look at those. So here you go. If we look at these here, I created this template. It's going to be available to you. So I just basically created a template that represents each emotion. So if I decide I want to build something, I don't have to have an angry character, right? I just need to know that angry is the pose that I want to overwrite. So I can put a giraffe in there and I can overwrite that on my angry. So maybe angry, maybe I'm doing a kids course and I want to use animals. So angry is a giraffe, happy is a hippo, right? So I just know that those are the poses I have available to me, and then I just overwrite those. So let's go ahead and look at our scenario block first, because this is what you would do. So you'd go into your scenario block here, and inside the block, you just need to keep track of what poses you're using. So if I go to edit, I can see that this is the neutral pose. I'm using that. So I need to say, okay, what do I want to be my neutral pose? And have talking, happy, disappointed, surprised. So I'm going to write this down. So neutral, talking, happy, disappointed, surprised, right? So we'll just put a bunch of different images in there to see how that works. And I'm going to come over here. Let's see, we'll go to my PowerPoint file. So let's say neutral. I've got my own character, right? I'm going to insert just one of these 3D models here from PowerPoint. So we're just going to go stock 3D models. Let's just say our neutral character. Well, we'll go with animals, right? So we'll go with an animal. Let's say our neutral character is this dog. That looks like a cool little dog there. Or maybe we'll go with the dinosaur here. Actually, I think I inserted two of them. So neutral here is going to be one of these. And they should show up here in a second, right? Of course, I chose the video, but that's okay. We don't need the video. So I've got the dog here. I want to size this up. Now, what I have here is something that kind of represents the size that I need for the character. So I just did a 16:9 slide. So I'm going to right click this. And what I want to do is I want to save this as an image, right? So we'll just save this as a picture. And so I know I'm neutral and I know this is what the neutral character looks like. So we're going to go save as picture. We're inside of our folder here. So we're going to go to the content folder. We're going to go to assets. And we need to overwrite the neutral. Now I can kind of tell she's kind of holding her hands here. So that's going to be this one right here. So this is neutral. If I'm not quite sure, you know, I can go large. Oops. I can go extra large image and I can see, because sometimes the characters look a little similar. So this one I can see is the neutral. So I'm just going to select that. And that gives us that file name and hit save. Say, yeah, do you want to replace it? Yes. And now let's go back to our course. And we're going to refresh this here. So if we come back to the beginning here, let's go ahead and refresh this course. Hit lesson. We should see the dog gets loaded up in here, and we'd continue and wherever that dog was being used. I don't think it's being used anywhere else in here. So let's go ahead and swap out a few others. It's pretty simple if you're working like that. So I know I have neutral, talking, happy, disappointed, and surprised. So I'm going to do this real quick just to show you how fast that could be. Let's say you're working with a real course. And these right here might be your scenario images, right? So we're going to just swap these out real quick. So what I would do is I say, okay, I know I've got a neutral. So I'm going to come back up here to neutral. As much as we like the dog, we're going to get rid of them, right? And I'm going to take my folder here. Here are my characters. So I'm just going to drag those. I'm going to put them off screen here so I can drag them. So let's say neutral is going to be this character, right? So I'm just going to drag her on the screen. And I kind of want to just size her up to kind of fit in the slide. It doesn't really have to be perfect. We'll play around with it. You could crop it and see how that works. So we've got her here. And then we've got talking. So let's just go to the talking one. Again, it doesn't have to be somebody talking, right? But we're going to choose this one. It's kind of a goofy one. We're just going to put this one in here just to see how that looks in the scenario block, right? And then we've got happy, right? So this is kind of what you would do is like, you know what you chose for your scenario, right? And we'll just choose her. She's representing happy, right? And again, they don't have to match to that emotion, and you can play around with the sizing and whatnot. And what was the last one? We'll just do disappointed. Will be the last one that we do here. And you can see it's not that hard to do this. This will be disappointed here. And I think we have one more, but we'll go ahead and stick with that. And then again, you can play around with the sizing. You can crop them and see how they look, flip the images, whatever you want to do. All right, so let's go ahead and overwrite these now. So I know neutral. I'm going to right click. I'm going to save as picture. That's going to pull this up here. We know neutral was the dog, so we're just going to overwrite that. Yes. We're going to come over here. We're going to say happy. We're going to overwrite that. So happy is she's got her hands on her hips, right? So we're going to go save as picture. We've got happy here. And save that as picture, right? And then what else do we have here? We've got talking. We'll see what this one looks like. Now, one thing you could do is, because this one may not place right on the screen, right? Because it might not look right. What you could do, and I'll show you something, you could actually crop it and change the aspect ratio. We're gonna save it this way and then see what it looks like. So we're gonna save as picture. This was talking, so she's kind of got her hand this way, right? That's talking right there. Hit yes, and then what's the last one? What will we do? Disappointed? All right, we'll do disappointed be our last one. I think there was surprise, but we won't worry about that. So let's go ahead and save this out as surprised or disappointed. And you can see she's got her arms crossed. Go ahead and do that. And we'll see what this looks like. Let's come back to our course. I'm going to refresh this. And you can see the characters are loaded up in there. Now again, if you crop them, they're going to change a little bit, get smaller, taller, wider, whatever you want them to be. We'll hit continue. Let's see. So this one, we can see how she's kind of sticking her head out of that. You know, that may work for you, may not. But let's say you wanted to get her a little bit higher up there. I'll show you an idea with that. And then we'll click through a couple and see what happens. You can see how that works. So if you have your own photos, own characters, super easy to do this. When you publish your course, you'll need to swap out the characters. Now, if you make edits, then you'll publish the course again, and then you'll have to reinsert the character. So what I would say is, once you built out your PowerPoint file, just save that as, you know, like if this was Lady in Blue for my safety course, I'd have my scenario. I'd save this as Lady in Blue Safety Course Scenario 1. And then this way, when I have to swap out the images, they're already there, and I just have to overwrite them real quick. And you can see it doesn't take that long to do that. You're not talking about having hundreds of images that you're using for these scenarios anyway. So let's go ahead and change this. This will be the last tip in here. So I'm going to go back to PowerPoint. You can see if you want to change that and make that character, you know, she kind of was, I think, came in at about right here, right? What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and crop this. And then you can kind of extend the image a little bit, right? Because that will change how she gets placed on the screen. So I'm just going to do this and make it like actually make it a taller image like this. So she should actually be more up on the top of the screen. Now this might be a little bit exaggerated, but we'll see what this looks like, right? So you can see now I've got this empty space here. I'm going to right click. This was on talking. We're going to save as picture. Let's go ahead and find our talking picture. Well, there it is. Go ahead and save that. And let's come back to the course and see what that looked like. So that's what it looked like here. So you kind of just barely got her shoulder, just kind of just her head in that shot. Let's go ahead and replay this. And let's go in here, and you can see that looks a little bit better, just kind of peeking out of the screen. And then when you crop the screen, you know, that's all going to look a certain way, right? So let's see what that looks like. So you can see as you crop the screen on a mobile device, it's going to play a little bit different as well. So it kind of gives you some ideas. The main thing is, even if you have custom characters and those things and you can't do them inside of the scenario block, it's easy enough to swap those out and add your own content and characters that way. Hope that helps.